welcome to the Golf Spotlight. I'm Ralph Irvin here in our golf shop studio, and today we are talking about the latest drivers from the folks at Titleist. They are getting rave reviews on tour, and let me tell you, they look fast. Here to talk about them is the Vice President of Marketing from Titleist. That's Josh Tauge. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, Ralph. I mean, how could you not be excited to join you after an intro like that? It was awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We were just introduced to the TSi-2 and TSi-3 drivers recently when they were introduced on the PGA Tour, and they've been exceptionally well received, and for good reason. They are great looking clubs. They're performing well, but the face, boy, it has a beautiful look, but it has a lot of technology inside.
Yeah, we're really excited about this TSi driver. As you mentioned, it's been an incredible uplift and takeoff on both the PGA Tour. We've seen strong results in the European Tour, the Corn Ferry Tour, and all those places where we've launched. Not only have we been the number one driver, but TSi has been the number one model. And so we know that we've hit on something really special here. And most importantly, we're seeing quite a few of the free agents, right? Guys that are known to just kind of play whatever they think is going to best fit them, really migrate quickly into this driver. And that gives us a ton of hope. But you mentioned the technology. And when we think about this driver, we really kind of talk about it that, hey, this thing is faster in the air and it's faster at impact. And the impact, that I in TSi is actually stands for impact. And what makes this driver so terrific at impact is a couple of things. But one of them is this really cool new face material we're using. It's ATI 425. I realize that's a huge mouthful, right? And we're not going to do a quiz later. No one has to remember that. But it's a really neat titanium alloy. And why we love it is it was recently declassified, and it's military grade and aerospace grade. The U.S. military uses it primarily in ballistic materials. They want to make sure that they use it in armor plating because it's really strong and it's really light. And then NASA uses it for those same properties. It's really strong, it's really light. So they actually made the Mars lander, the Mars rover, out of this material. And so when our team here was looking for how do we make a breakthrough in ball speed and construction, materials are really one of the next frontiers. And they found this material. We originally used it actually on the crown of a concept driver several years ago. And now we realized we could actually use it as the face material. And it's been just terrific for us and something that we really love, the fact that we have this and no one else has used this in golf. And we're seeing just tremendous results from it.
Well, the next aspect that's really important to this club's design is that you've got the weight low into the back. That really helps with the stability and giving a lot of forgiveness, doesn't it?
Exactly. When I think about this driver, sometimes it's easy to get hung up on how cool the face technology is and how amazing just the beautiful shape is and the look of this product is. But you tend to forget, you're like, oh man, this really checks kind of all the boxes you're looking for. This driver is faster in the air, it's longer off the tee, and most importantly, it's straighter down the fairway. And that straightness really comes in, that forgiveness comes in from the fact that it's incredibly well balanced and allows us to be able to hit this club kind of all over the club face and get consistent launch and spin. And when you're able to do that, your confidence grows because you're hitting fairways and you're hitting it longer. And it's really interesting how we're able to do all that, and at the same time also really include a lot of custom features in there to make sure that you're dialing up this driver for your game, such as movable weight technology we have on the rear of the club, or our 16 different position independent loft and lie at the hosel. So we want to make sure we really get everybody fit into this driver because that's where you're going to see just explosive gains.
And it's in that weight, low and deep, that we really see the difference between the TSi-2 and the TSi-3.
Yeah, when I think about comparing the two models, the TSi-2, and I'm sure you'll have some really cool pictures to put up for everybody. TSi-2 is more of this modern shape. They're both actually 460cc heads, but this is where shape and volume really play with your eye. And you're going to see the TSi-2 shape is very much almost like, a slight trilobular, as our R&D guys would look at it, really pulled back and sleek in the center and the back of that club. And then you look at TSi-3 and you're looking at a classic pear-shaped driver. I mean, this is right out of the space of 905R and other, classic Titleist drivers. but it's a 460cc head that's just loaded with all this tech, but in this shape that's just beautiful to look at. And both really feature kind of a nice soft toe, so it almost feels like the toe's running away from you a little bit, but at the same time is going to sit square. And then the last thing that both of them have that I think is so exciting is this face feature where your eye is almost focused on center face contact and being able to hit that up and down the center of the driver. And that's something that we think is going to help golfers continually get closer to center point contact, which is going to help them hit it longer and straighter repeatedly.
Those are definitely the types of nuances that we may not notice but affect us during the swing. Now you have the SureFit hosel, and that allows for so many different combinations that this really can be truly custom fit to any player.
And headway adjustability is really important. When you talked about the early success we've had on the PGA Tour, and it's really interesting. I talked to our head of tour and just said, hey, what's the average swing weight of a driver on the PGA Tour? And if we were to, if we did this as a quiz for your listeners, I bet they'd get pretty close. The average swing weight is something like D 3.6 or 3.5, right in that range. So nothing scary. But what's really interesting is the range. The range we build drivers as light as C9 for tour pros and as heavy as E0 and everything in between. And that really gets down to the idea of a driver as a personalized club. And we want to make sure that we've got these different head weight options to really help you dial in your best performance. And so we offer head weight adjustability on both products. And that's something that we think is just that little extra to really get you that 1% to 2% more to make sure that that's the margins we want to be in here to get you perfect performance.
And even with all the technology that you put into this club, there was a lot of thought put into the sound at impact.
Sound's really important to us because sound is feel, especially in the driver category. And the way we think about it, and we've got a whole team that focuses on this, which is also one of the really cool parts about Titleist, is that we take it so seriously. There's a whole group that just focuses on it. And the way we do sound is a kind of across 3 different core elements. The first is just volume. How loud is it? The second is pitch. How high or low does it sound? And finally, what's the length of that sound? Like, how long do you hear it? How loud is it? And then how high is it, right? All those things factored together to make sure that you get the right sound. And we can really dial in sound here because at the end of the day, we know sound equals feel. And these are the little details that we put into our products to make sure that the discerning golfer has something that delivers that wow to them from the very first swing.
Josh, if people want more information about the TSi2 and TSi3 drivers, TSi Meadowwoods, really anything from Titleist, where can they get that information?
Titleist.com is your one-stop shop. I would go there first. Obviously, there's so many great reviews that are up, and Ralph, you and everybody else do such a great job of telling the golfer about these new products. So everyone's got their favorites there they can watch. And certainly we work with as many reviewers as possible to get them product. But on Titleist.com, you'll find all of the really interesting stories behind it. You'll actually meet a bunch of our engineers who work on the product, and they can walk you through just what we do from an aerodynamic standpoint. They can walk you through exactly how we do MOI features of our products. And then most importantly, you can find out where you can go to get a fitting, where you can go try these products. And by the way, it's basically at every single golf shop across America. So the great news about this is by the time you're watching this, the tools are going to be there. So go into any golf shop and please give this thing a try because I think you're going to really love it. It's easily the most fun I've ever had hitting driver in my life. And I get to hit a lot of interesting prototypes, as you can imagine, through my job and see a lot of different things. And this thing brings me more joy than any driver I've ever had in my bag.
All right, Josh, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Ralph.
We want to thank Josh Tauge for joining us here on the Golf Spotlight. Now be sure to subscribe by clicking the button right down below. Turn on your notifications as well. Follow us on Twitter at Golf Spotlight. On Instagram, it's The Golf Spotlight. And thank you for joining us as we continue to give you the information that you need for your next golf purchase.